Welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. My name is Michelle Hartwig, and I am your host. I'm also a race director for many Midwest trail races like Kettle Moraine 100, Hennepin 100, and 2021, we have Midwest States 100 coming. And I'm here with my co-host, Crystal the Pistol.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I was just about to mute myself to yell at my daughter, but now we're live, so I can't. I'm sorry.
So Kaylee, do whatever, have fun, do whatever you were doing.
Gosh, she's been taking the longest shower ever. I just want her to get out of the shower.
She's going to love this when she grows up and you said on a podcast that she was taking too long of a shower.
She can come on and say whatever she wants about me. It's whatever.
And yeah, so, we're super excited about our guest tonight. I don't even know if we barely need to do an introduction, but we have Courtney Dauwalter, and she just got done winning as the USA person for the Backyard Ultra with 283.3 miles. And thank you so much, Courtney, for taking the time and coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
So
I need to hear more about this Midwest 100.
Yeah,
let's start there.
Okay, we could do that. We're really excited because, like everybody always talks about, West runners, and the Midwest has some really cool runners. I mean, you're from the Midwest, and
Minnesota grown.
Yeah, and we have great trails here. And I always thought we really need to have a Midwest 100. So I actually asked the guys on the board from Western States 100 because it sounds like their name, like it's completely similar to that. So I wanted to have their blessing to name a race Midwest States 100. So they came back with a couple names that were okay, and I've been looking for a course for a while. So this course is in Wisconsin. It's a very thick forested course in Chequamegon National Forest. There's bears up there. It's a gorgeous area, and that town's super excited. There's not a lot of trail running there because it's a little bit out of the way, but there's great single track trails on the Ice Age Trail, which is iconic for Wisconsin. Cool. So
that'll be so awesome. So is it a loop or out and back?
Well, I'd like it to be 2 out and backs, but right now it's going to be an out and then a back, and then like you do a little loop off of that out and back for the 100 and then come back to the start. And you might have to go a little farther. You might have to do a short out and back after that. The 100K is just a straight out and back, but
awesome.
there's more course to the other direction, but it needs some work. So I would like to put money into the trail every year and get that course in good enough shape. Right now it's just too hard to run on. I like a technical course, but it's a little too difficult. I like a runnable course too. I really like courses that, challenge you, but you're not like a bunch of sticks and stuff down and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it is right now.
Yeah.
And that's
very cool.
Well, thank you.
That's awesome. Another ultra in the Midwest is perfect.
Yeah.
Because you're right. There's tons of amazing runners there and tons of great areas to run in. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. When I was looking at your stuff, I noticed that you've done Fans 12-hour race a few times. And that's like one of my favorite races. I love that. I love timed events. Is that from an area is that where you grew up? Is that the general area?
Yeah. So in the past, 6 years, I guess the Fans course has been just right outside Minneapolis, a 2-mile loop around a little lake right there. And that's where my family still lives. And so when I was looking for a 24-hour race, it was actually after I dropped out of my first 100-mile trail race, I signed up for Fans, the 24-hour race, because I wanted to do 100 miles of really mellow terrain and frequent aid stations just to prove to myself that I could make it. And then I wanted to translate it back to trails. So did the Fans 24-hour race with my family and had a ton of friends come out and do laps, and even my high school cross country coach came and ran with me that year. And then loved it so much. It's such a great community that we circled back there for quite a few years in a row just to do the 24-hour or the 12-hour, I think, one of the years.
Okay, yeah, I've just done the 12-hour, and I had noticed that you had done it. I think kind of around the same time, maybe that I was out there. I was gonna check it, but I never got to it. But yeah, it's great. Like the community up there is fantastic.
Oh, so great. But always the worst weather that weekend. It's been like pouring rain or 90 degrees and humid, like never got a perfect weather year, but didn't matter. It was always worth going back to.
Yeah, it rained on me too. It's usually around the same weekend as Kettle. But
Okay.
Kettle, we had to change to the second weekend of June. So I'm thinking Fans is the first weekend of June. So now it's possible to do both.
The
Because
double.
I always send people to Fans, even though I want them to do Kettle too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So how are you feeling after the big backyard?
I feel good. Yeah, I think we're two-ish weeks out now, and legs feel good, body feels good. Been getting great sleep, so I think recovery is going just fine. Thank you.
Yeah. How long does it usually take you to recover from something? I mean, well, is that the farthest you've ever went is 283?
In a race, that's the farthest. I did a little bit farther than that on my Colorado Trail attempt, which I did this summer, but that was the farthest in an actual race setting.
Yeah. Um, well, so I want to hear a little bit about the race, like how you get ready. We've got lots of questions from like I feel like we're representing the Midwest right now, and everybody is so excited about you being here, and so a lot of people have gave us questions. So I kind of want to combine it with a little bit of both our questions and their questions. But first off, I kind of want to hear about how you went into the race. Tell us in case somebody doesn't know what it is, what's the format and stuff like that.
Yeah, great. The format is a last person standing race, which means it's a 4.1 mile loop that you do once per hour. And with any extra time you have every hour, you can, rest or eat or drink or whatever. But then the next hour, you have to start the next loop. So you're doing these 4 mile loops until you can't make it back in time to start your next one on time, or you just quit yourself. So you can tap out when you're just mentally defeated or physically you can't go anymore. And then it goes until you get down to two people. And once it's down to two people, once the second place person stops, the winner does one more lap to I guess it's a formality kind of to solidify the win. And then the race is over. So it's not just running forever by yourself. If you're the only one left, you have to have that second person in it as well, which I think is a really cool format. It really relies on teamwork, and your competitors are also the people that you want to keep helping, because together you can be stronger, by keeping more people in when it comes down to those big miles. So it's really cool. It's got this really cool ultra vibe because you always circle back to the same camp area. And so instead of a normal ultra where everyone's so spread out and crews are driving all over the woods, and you're coming upon these aid stations where people have been camped there for days, this is you come back home every 4 miles and then you see everyone again. So you see your crew, you see all the other runners, you see the race director. It's got a really cool family feel in that way.
And what's the course like?
During the day, so at this one, there's lots of races that now do the backyard format. So this is Big's backyard, which is kind of the original in Tennessee on Laz's property. So it's actually his backyard. And he does a 4 mile trail loop during the day that is pretty rocky and rooty, and it's in the woods. And there aren't huge climbs, but it's definitely rolling, where you have to like pay attention when you're running on it. And then at night, he switches it to a 4 mile just out and back on the road. And then it's pretty mindless and easy road miles.
And then when you go back to, so does it switch back and forth? So always at night you're on the out and back, and always during the day you're on the trail loop.
Correct. Yeah. His whole thing with coming up with this format was he wanted to see how long people could like mentally endure more than like could they physically endure. So the trail is pretty technical, and so that was, you know, eliminating people in the night section just because of the navigation and, you know, finding your footing and stuff. And so he wanted to make it where big miles could be achieved, and so the road makes it easier during the night to cruise through some laps.
Did you have
But
some
yeah,
ideas of how many miles you wanted to do when you got there?
no, I specifically decided to not get attached to any mileage, because I think it can be pretty dangerous in a game like this where, if you're just focusing on reaching like 200 miles, for example, then you get there and you suddenly have this really easy excuse to stop. And so in a format like this, I had no idea how far we would go, but I knew that I wanted to be in it for as long as possible. And so that was my main goal, is to just keep lining up for the next loop.
And this year it was ran a little differently because of COVID. Was it less people that started than normal?
Yep, normally there's a pretty big international presence at this one, and he runs about 70 people on the course. This year it was just US runners on this course, and there were only 15. There were actually only 14 starters on it. So I'm trying to, you know, be as safe as possible and keep as many of those precautions in play, but also still make it so the race could happen. So his solution to, you know, still include the international runners was to allow other countries to simultaneously hold their own backyard event, and then it was all streamed together, so we were all running at the same time, which was super cool, just to like make you feel like you're, you know, with these people and doing this thing all together in a year where it's been, you know, all separate. But each race was individually held and ended. So at every single country's race, when that second place person stopped, the first place person got to do one more, and then they were done as well, even if more countries were still going. So it was like they were related, but not totally related.
Yeah, that makes sense. Was everybody allowed to have crew, or did you come by yourself?
We could each have one crew person. So my husband came along, and it's pretty hard crewing. Like, he has to see me every hour, which means it's never like, oh, we'll see you in 6 hours after you do that really hard section. No, it's every hour I come back. And usually we had a really great system of just eating a few bites of some food and drinking something, and then I would be gone again. But he always had like something to tidy up or food to fix or whatever. So there's no rest for the crew in this format either.
Yeah, that's not enough time to take a quick nap. Although I've heard about you taking like a 1 minute nap on the trail and feeling wonderful. So maybe
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
enough time. But crewing is a different, you know, it can be tiring because you're not moving quite as much.
Yeah, exactly. And just staying in the same spot. He loves it though. I feel really lucky that uh, he's as excited to crew as he is to do his own ultras. And so that makes it really fun to share together.
Yeah, my husband likes crewing too. When we first got married, we went to NASCAR races all the time. So he says it's like a NASCAR race, like he like tunes my
Yeah,
tires up
yeah.
and then sends me on the way.
This one is very much like that because you only have that limited amount of time. So, like, if you do a 52-minute lap, you have 8 minutes to get everything you need, and then you need to be back going again. Because when he rings the bell for the lap to start, you have to be in this like little corral that he paints out on the ground, and you have to start it. So there's no like, oh, I forgot that thing, I'll just do it really quick and then go. It's like the time is very it's very set, and you have to adapt to that.
And is your tent like, I'm guessing you have like a little tent pop up maybe with your stuff in there. Is that close to that corral?
Yeah, they were all pretty close, especially because it was such a small field. So just 14 of us had these 10 by 10 tents just along the little straightaway by the start finish area. It was, yeah, it was really nice. It was fun to be back at a race again.
Yeah. Well, you had the FKT attempt on the Colorado Trail, which I've been so obsessed with watching the creativity of all the FKTs this year. But I think it's super cool to see people doing something that's not just like you go to Western states and there's like hundreds of people at the aid station, like the energy pulls you along. But you do something like this that's small, you have to be individual driven
Yeah.
or the FKT as well.
Yeah. I would say that, I mean, the pandemic isn't great for so many reasons, but watching people come up with, their challenges that motivate them or ways to virtually get together with people and make the best of the situation has been pretty cool. And hopefully a lot of those things carry forward even when things are back to normal.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, the FKTs are cool because a lot of times they're on trails that you couldn't have a race on because it's
Right.
not property that they do races on, and so yeah, I really like that part about it. And so getting back to the backyard ultra, the big backyard ultra, did you carry anything on these 4-mile loops?
I occasionally would bring just a hand bottle, but otherwise, I was doing all my food and stuff at the aid station. So, but pretty much 100% of the time, my hand bottle was tailwind, so I could be getting calories during that 4-mile loop. And then I would take bites of like mashed potatoes or slices of pizza or like cheeseburgers and fries between the laps.
About when did it get hard?
it rolled for sure. It was a roller coaster. Mostly it was good though. It was like cruising along, having a lot of fun. We had a really great group make it. Like there were 5 of us still in at 200 miles, which was really cool. And I think my lowest point was for sure on that third trail day, where it was between miles like 210 and 240 roughly, where it just got super hot. And by that time, it was down to 2 of us. So it was just Harvey Lewis and I, who is a Midwest guy and amazing runner and human. But it was just the 2 of us out there, and it was so humid. And I don't train in humidity really ever anymore. I live in Colorado, where if it's humid, that would be really shocking. So it was kind of just stifling. And I was just trudging through those laps, trying to get through them at that point. So I would say that was the toughest part, but then it rebounded like ultras always do, and then was feeling great again. So this one, I think a format like this, really any ultra, it's important to not like read too much into those hard moments and not give up on yourself when it is hard, because it always can rebound and it always can feel better again, but you have to give it the chance to. And so if you quit before you give it the chance, I mean, you'll never know if it could have felt great again. So just, that's how I always try and like keep it moving forward, is like, give it a chance to rebound. We'll feel good again soon. And believe in that, even if it's a, straight up lie at that moment. Like if you're puking in the bushes, you can still say that to yourself and convince yourself of it. I think, which then makes it so there's at least the possibility of that runner's high again.
And so with everybody else running, did you guys get to like run and chat like a weekend training run or something?
Kinda, yeah, definitely the first day was all chatting. Like all these people who hadn't seen each other. Everyone's feeling, really alert and excited to be out there. The number of conversations happening over the course of the day is definitely like decreased by quite a bit. And Harvey and I, when it came down to the two of us, we really wanted to work together because we knew, we both needed each other to see what was possible. And so we spent a couple laps kind of plotting that and seeing, like what would help you stay in it? What would help me? Should we run together? Should we not run together? And we ended up deciding to not run together because our paces were just super different. But we were definitely like, we were each other's cheerleaders out there and more teammates than opponents, which was really fun.
That is really super cool. I and not surprising in trail running. Like that's the trail community is just like that. There, in fact, one person we have like a little group. It's called the Dirt Trail Running Community, and everybody was asking questions. And one person asked, I can't remember who it was right now. Like when you go to, because you've raced in many different regions, like overseas, here, does the community change in the way people act? Is it different from each one, or is the trail community kind of the same everywhere?
In my experience, which isn't like, I don't have tons of it, so I'm not going to like paintbrush over the whole thing with this, but in my experience, no matter where I've gone, it feels like you're seeing people, like it feels like you're coming together with friends and family by the end of a weekend. So I found the trail running community to feel the same everywhere, in that like super welcoming. Everyone just wants to have a good time and enjoy these trails and push themselves, and to share that with people is special.
I'm not surprised to hear that. That's great to hear. And it's a smaller community, so you do kind of get like, no races are huge, because not huge races can fit on a trail. So it's a really good chance to get to know each other. I really love that.
Exactly.
Answer.
And usually a lot of hours to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, a teammate, like you help each other get through so that everybody finds out what they're capable of pushing their body to doing.
Exactly.
I think one challenge with the big backyard is, like, so it's every hour. Like if you're in a 200 and some mile race, you could plan a nap. But with this, like, how did you manage that?
That's a great question, because it's definitely one of the tricks of this format. And so I was using the night hours to try and take those naps. So not like forcing it every single loop, but during the nighttime, the road section runs just a little easier in general, so you have a little more time. And so I would come back in about 45, 46 minutes from my road loop, and then I would lay down, shut my eyes for 10 minutes, get up, eat some bites of food, drink something, grab whatever I need, and then go again. And so I've just made it a routine where there was no thinking. Even if I wasn't sleeping, I was laying there with my eyes shut and hoping, to absorb some of that rest in some way. The second and third night, I was definitely conking out for some of those minutes. Like the third night, I was probably getting a solid 8 minutes of sleep every single lap, which, I mean, it sounds small and crazy, but it's also like can be really rejuvenating. And in a format like that, that's all you need is just a little more juice so that you can do your next loop and then reload it again. And so it's just those little bits, and never getting like overwhelmed by, well, I need an hour of sleep or whatever. Like that's not an option. So there's no need to fret about it.
And how about like hallucinations? I've heard on other shows with you that sometimes you've had hallucinations. Did you have any interesting things like that here?
Yeah, I always seem to have them on these really long ones, and they're always friendly, like animals and people doing things. And this one, the one that stood out was over to the side, and there was a circus stage with Mickey Mouse on it, and he was tossing t-shirts out to the crowd. I was like, where's my t-shirt?
And you probably know it's a hallucination.
Yeah, at this point, sometimes I do have to like rub my eyes and like look a couple times because it'll look so real, but usually then I'll figure out like, nope, that's not actually there. And then it's just kind of a fun thing to tuck away and remember for next time.
So when Harvey was getting ready to drop, did he tell you while you were out on the loop, or had you been pulling him along for a while? Like, how did that come about?
No, I mean, he was seeming fine. We were both like in our own zone, you know, doing our own pace, and it's an out and back on the road. And so we'd see each other. My lap times were just a few minutes ahead of his. And so I would turn and then we'd cross paths and we'd cheer for each other. And then we'd see each other at the start line again and, you know, fist bump and tell each other, you know, like, let's keep going or whatever. And so we were standing at the start line of the 68th lap and we fist bumped and he looked at me and he was like, I don't think I can get us to 300 miles. I'm really struggling right now, because 300 miles had been like the thing we kept saying to each other, like, let's beat 300. You know, it hadn't been done yet. We were like trying to help each other achieve this thing. And he said, I'm really struggling. I'm not sure I can get us there. And then the lap started. And so I was doing my pace. He usually was, you know, right behind me. And neither of us had been wearing headlamps for any of the night stuff. And so once you're out there, there was no moon. You couldn't really like see people. And so we'd always just see each other cross paths. And when I turned, I was looking for him in that normal spot we crossed paths and he wasn't there. I'm like, that's weird. Maybe like it was too dark or I wasn't paying attention. I just didn't see him or whatever. Maybe he was standing on the side, you know, going to the bathroom or whatever. And then when I got back to the camp, they were all standing there cheering because it turns out he had barely gone out and then turned around and called it. So I didn't know on the last lap that it was going to be the last lap.
So you didn't have to go back out since he didn't complete that one.
Right. So rules are you just have to do one more than second place completed. So because he turned around early, then the race was over. Which was weird. It's
yeah.
strange that it just ends.
I was looking at the website and it's just so simple and like it's a genius format. It's really, really cool how Laz is awesome the way his mind works. And I've heard you talk before too about trying to find what you're capable of, what the human body is capable of. And this is set up so perfect for that.
Oh, it's brilliant for finding that because, you know, when you break it down into hour by hour, you can do that next loop. You can do 4 miles in this next hour. Like that's possible. And it's oftentimes, I think, when people think about too far ahead or how many hours away that is, or you know, they accumulate it, it becomes overwhelming. But yeah, if you can like keep your head in just that 4 mile an hour zone physically, it's possible for a really long time, I think.
Do you think that you could have how much farther do you think you had in you?
That's impossible to predict. Like talking about the roller coasters, you know, that you go through in these things, who knows for me if a low was, you know, 2 hours away or 10 hours away or when that would be. In the moment, I was feeling great. And I had like become kind of a robot with the night where I had this routine. I knocked it out. I did my sleeping. I ate some food and I did it again. Like there was no thinking involved. And so there was no like stressing about how far we had gone or how far it was till morning or any of that. It was just staying really in the moment. So I was in a good spot when it ended. But that's the fun part of the format too, is you never know what that first place person could do. and you need two people to have a great day together to like really push some distances.
What was the first thing that you thought when you were done? Like, I'm thinking I'd be like, where's a chair? Like, I want to sit down. Like, what were you thinking?
For sure I was, where's Harvey? Like, what happened to Harvey?
Aw.
Do we need to find him on the road somewhere? And then it was, where's a beer? If I was like, if we're done running, then where's my beer?
What kind of beer did you have?
Sufferfest IPA.
And then did you eat afterwards? Like, are you hungry? I mean,
I don't think I ate. I think I wasn't hungry, really. I think there were people who had, come out because everyone was done except Harvey and I, our two crew members, and then, the race people. But people had stayed around, like all the other runners and their crews had stayed to cheer and just be a part of this family out there. And so people were still hanging around. And so we sat around in some chairs and cheers some beverages, and then basically people just sleep right there. So like people are sprawled on tarps all over this yard, like under whatever tent they could have rigged up, and we all caught a few hours of sleep and then packed it up in the morning. And probably by that afternoon it didn't look like anyone had ever been there.
Did you camp there the night before the race?
We didn't. No, we stayed in a nearby town and then just showed up in the morning.
Yeah. How long ahead of time, like for travel, did you get there? Like a few days ahead of time? Because I feel kind of groggy after I travel sometimes.
Yeah. Probably just the day before. I think, it started Saturday morning and we got there Thursday night. Everyone then sets up their stuff on Friday, figures out, what their system might look like for at least the first part. And then, starts Saturday morning.
Do you get to take a look at the course beforehand?
You could go out and walk it if you wanted. I didn't. I ran this race 2 years ago, and so I roughly knew. And I also wanted to spend the first day like reacquainting myself with the turns of the trail and the trees out there and everything, because definitely by the third day, like, everything out on that 4-mile trail loop, and you're very well acquainted. So I needed to keep some of it fresh for that first day.
Yeah.
Not get sick of it.
So we've got some people asking what you had to eat the night before the race.
A lot of times my go-to the night before a race is pizza, because it's really predictable wherever you are, and I love pizza. So my husband and I got some just takeout pizza and ate that at our hotel.
Yeah, that's safe, like something that you would have at home.
Yeah, it's really easy to find, and doesn't make it too stressful the night before to like find some really specific food or to bring, some specific food. It makes traveling to races easier for me.
Do you think that this is a race that you're going to do every year, and or until maybe you hit that 300-mile mark?
Well, 300 like wouldn't be the stopping. I just want to know what's possible on it. So like, I don't think we found that out yet. And so I would love to keep trying and seeing for myself, how far can I push it? Can I help make the game last longer for another person? So we'll see if it's every year, or definitely though I'm intrigued by it and would love to go back.
Do you have anything else planned for this year? Like any more FKT attempts or stuff?
Nothing really planned right now. I wanted to see how recovery went, and I wanted to really give that the time it needed, so not rush back into anything. So we'll see in the next couple weeks if I'm itching to race again or do an FKT, or if I just want to, train and hope that things, reset and maybe we're racing normal next year. We'll see though.
Yeah, I hope so. I would have never thought we'd still be where we're at now.
Yeah.
What's typical for you for recovery? Like like how long do you give yourself between races? Like I know, I'm like really I can race like once a year. And for recovery, like with a couple maybe shorter stuff. Like what's a good balance for you?
I think I'm still learning and finding that out. I just a few years ago, I would do an ultra once a month, and then in the past couple years, I've been learning a lot about recovery and how to treat my body better, and how to make sure I can do this for a long time. And so, in the past couple years, I've been doing maybe like, I don't know, 6 to 8 ultras a year, I guess, with just maybe 3 of those being like big target ones, and the others kind of like a training long run or whatever. But I'm still learning. I haven't figured out the formula yet.
That's what makes it exciting is always like I'm gonna nail it. Like I learned something at this one, the next one I'm gonna take that and run with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you started this pretty young. Like most ultra runners, I feel like you were in your 20s when right when you started. I was looking at ultra sign up.
Yep, I would have been in like mid late 20s, I guess.
So did somebody, when who introduced you? How did you find the sport?
After college, I wanted something to train for, and I was curious about those long distances. So I tried a few road marathons. And after finishing those, it just made me wonder what else was out there, and, like, how else can we surprise ourselves? Because 26.2 miles surprised me. Like, I didn't think I could make it that far. And so when I did, it triggered this whole thing in me, which just wondered, what's the next thing that sounds too hard? And so there was a 50K nearby where I lived at the time, and thought, that doesn't sound that much crazier than a marathon. Let's see if I can survive that. And sure enough, I was still living when I finished. And so then I wondered, what's the next thing? Found a 50-mile. And it's just sort of snowballed from there.
That's really cool. Well, we have a couple sections that we do. I want to make sure we can do everything. So Crystal does a Ornery Mule Stubborn 5, but then we also, and this we don't normally do, but I felt a responsibility to the Midwest community to let them get some of their questions out. So I want to like read some of the questions that came in today from people. And
Perfect.
and they're kind of questions that I might have considered asking too. So I just grabbed a few, so nobody's feelings be hurt that I didn't grab everybody's because there was like 100 of them. But Sarah Overpeck from Indiana, who you need to meet sometime at a race, she's fantastic, great runner, and she said that she read that you don't follow a strict training plan and just run whatever feels right for your body. And she's wondering what that means. Like like if she's wondering if, for example, you don't feel motivated to run that day, do you take that as that means you need rest, or do you push yourself out the door?
Yeah, so it's exactly what she described it as, where I don't have a training plan for a week. I don't have a training plan for the month. I don't have a training plan for the year. Every day I just wake up and kind of, assess the systems, my body, my brain, like how am I feeling? What's like pulling at me today to do. And then I'll put on some shoes and head out the door and kind of see where my feet take me after that even. So I might have an idea in my head before a run what I'm going to do, or if I'm going to, do a hill a couple times or not. And then if I get out on the run and I'm getting even different signals than that, then I'll change course without too much spreading about it. And what I've learned about myself over the years is that my default mode is go. Like the foot is on the gas as the default. And so if I do get those signals, like that I am just like dragging my feet to get out the door, or I really don't want to do it, or I'm just more tired or whatever than normal, then I usually tune into those because they're pretty rare for me. So I'll give them like the attention and respect that they're asking for by taking a day off or doing something different, or going out for a walk and seeing if that changes my mind at all. But that's just because I've learned that I've like tried to trust myself on those signals and what they're telling me.
That's good. Very, very great advice. I mean, you've definitely learned who your body is and I mean, perfected it. I'm wondering, I've kind of done that before in the past. In your mind, do you think, well, I need to make sure I do a little speed work a couple days a week? Do you kind of try to organize that slightly or not at all?
Maybe not. Like some weeks I won't do any speed work because it just never was pulling at me. And yeah, some weeks I'll throw it in multiple times. A lot of times I'll know like when my next race is. And so I'll know, can the foot be on the gas all the way? And it's like no restrictions on mileage, or are we getting close to a race where I need to pay attention and not like overdo it this week? So I'll know those sorts of things, but I won't have like a mileage goal usually. And I won't have like a required number of speed work days.
And do you follow your watch for mileage? About how many miles a week do you run?
I average about 100, but and I wear a Sunto, so I have all the data. I will start it and stop it, but when I'm out on a run, I'm not looking at pace and I'm not looking at miles. I'll just check time if I had an obligation to be back for, but otherwise I just kind of let it decide itself by how I'm feeling out there. Or if I forgot water and it's and it's getting late.
I bet you've got some really cool routes. Do you have a favorite route by you that you do all the time?
I definitely have some staples, yeah, that are just like everyone's got those,
Yeah.
a loop or whatever that just makes you feel great and is fun and mindless, all of those pieces.
And is it mainly like one run a day, or do you like do some in the morning, some at night?
A lot of times I'll do 2 runs a day, and I'll do my morning one of like whatever I was thinking I would do, and then I'll join my husband for his run after he's done working. So going out for him in the late afternoon is just a fun way to share time together.
That's great. That's cool. Well, so then our next one is Patrick Morris, and he wants to know, what are your top 3 reasons that you think you're successful at the backyard ultra format? And then he adds, that he would like you to just keep being the coolest person in the ultra marathon world.
Thanks, Patrick. I well, I don't have like many years of doing backyard ultras or many races of this format under my belt. So I'm not the expert at all. I've done it 2 times. But I think a few things anyone doing a backyard ultra would benefit from is just that, like, not getting attached to a distance thing and really trying to stay in the moment. So you're just thinking about this next loop, not overwhelming yourself with how far you're hoping to go or any of those things. Because I think it's a huge mental game out there. And if you can force yourself to stay right where your feet are at that moment, I think it can pay off huge. Figuring out a way to get short amounts of sleep is, I think, going to be pretty critical. And then quick problem solving, and also being okay with not being able to problem solve and do another lap while you're crew person, or while you just, wait to see if this problem works itself out. But there's not a lot of time to problem solve. So you've got to either fix it quick or get out of there and then fix it later.
Yeah, that's all great advice. The next one is Megan Veldkamp, and she's curious of how your ultra style came about, like your outfit. What's the reasoning behind that? We love it. And I was going to say those socks you had on at the big backyard with the little kangaroos on it. Those are adorable. What are those?
Those are Injinji, which are toe socks. I found toe socks keep my feet blister free. So they've got some fun designs, and those are like an Australia themed sock.
They are so cute.
Yeah.
That was one thing I noticed I loved about your outfit, and I was going to try to find it.
I have always just preferred long shorts. So when I got into ultra running, I was running in them because it was comfortable for me and like looser clothing in general. And then like over the years have found like I still really prefer that. I don't think it's like there's no good reason to change it. And I don't want to fidget with my clothing when I'm running. So sticking with what's comfortable for me is what I prefer to do.
Yeah, Megan said in her mind she was thinking it kept you from chafing. She thought it might be that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can be great for that. I really think it's a personal choice for people. Like what feels good when you're running, and that's what you should wear, regardless of, did it come from the men's or women's section? Doesn't matter. Is it short or long? Doesn't matter. Like whatever feels good for people.
That's good. So the next up would be Erin Dial, and she wants to know what your favorite color is and why.
Oh, green, like a tropical green. I think because it reminds me of tropical places or the ocean, like when it's that tropical kind of ocean. I would say that's my favorite color.
I like that. My office is green, and I keep looking at it going, I just love this color. It makes me so happy. And then, well, this one like sounds a little set up. Do you plan to run any? This is Julie Morgan, so this is a real question. Do you plan to run any Midwest races soon, like the Hennepin Hundreds?
Oh man, I hope soon, but not in the next few months. I won't be running in the Midwest.
Well, we don't have any. We're closed down pretty well here. There's not too many races happening.
Yeah.
So, well, hopefully next year, Julie, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then let's see. Donna Jasper from Dixon, she's from the Hennepin area too, wants to know, when you're struggling, what are the strategies you use to bring your head back to positive?
I'll repeat something to myself, like a mantra of, something positive. Usually it's like, you're fine, this is fine. And I'll just keep saying that to, I don't know, it just like calms everything down. It reassures you that it is fine, even though it isn't, and makes it so you can like start problem solving actually, and not just stressing about whatever it is. And I'll remind myself how amazing it is to be out running, wherever I am. It's cool. Like it's a sport that we get to do to explore places. And so like feeling that thankfulness of, this is what I chose to do with my time right now, and I should enjoy that, is definitely part of it. And calories always help.
Yeah, Crystal is a big candy person, like we hear that you are too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to have found a kindred spirit.
I have so much candy. There's so much candy on my table. There's like 3 giant bowls full of Halloween candy. And my daughter and I were like, what are we going to do with all of it? And I was like, we'll just eat it. Like,
eat it.
I'm going to eat it.
What's the problem?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Crystal has tattoos of her.
You should have just had those bowls out, just mowing candy through this whole thing.
It's so much candy has been eaten this year. Rice Krispie treats and Pop-Tarts and donuts and just
so good.
Not a lot of running, but a lot of eating.
That's okay.
Crystal has really good metabolism. She can get away with that.
Sorry, the sun's set here, so it's getting really dark.
No, it's okay.
Awful lighting.
You're just a little tan now.
Yeah, getting that winter tan.
Well, I want to make sure Crystal has time for her Ornery Mule Stubborn 5. So I had a few more questions, but I'm going to let Crystal do hers now.
Oh, no, I want you to ask your questions. Just go ahead.
Oh,
You ask your questions.
well, now I moved the papers away. Let's see.
Oh.
Okay. Well, so one other person, Laura Hoban, she wants to know if you miss teaching middle school.
I loved it. I thought it was a super fun job that is very unpredictable. Every day it's different. And yeah, thought it was a pretty cool career to have for a while. Right now, it's just really easy to, I'm trying to just be in the moment and enjoy that I get to be on this ride for however long. Eventually, this ride of running will end, and then I'll find the next thing. So I don't actively miss it every day because I feel lucky to be running and getting to play in the mountains like I am.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. And then Erica Lee and Elizabeth Lara want to know if you still cross country ski or snowshoe at all.
I do. I cross country ski. It's an awesome winter activity to, get outside, explore a little, but also get in a great workout. Like the Midwest knows cross country skiing, and it is great. So I do it as much as possible here in Colorado.
Oh, that's great. Okay, it's your turn, Crystal.
Oh, okay. Okay, these are just 5 questions that we ask called the Unreal Stubborn 5. So the first one is share one thing about you that people may not know.
Oh, boy. I will, I don't know. That's a hard question because, yeah, I don't know. So I'm pretty, like, my vision is awful. So I wear contact lenses or glasses. And if I'm not, then basically the whole world is a giant blur.
Have you ever had like a contact disaster during one of your races where like one falls out or you're like, I can't see?
I haven't, but I always have an extra pair just in all my crew stuff because I'm so scared of that happening. Like one, if I rub my eye and I rip one, or it flips out when I'm doing something and lands in the dirt somewhere. Like it wouldn't go well if I didn't have that.
Well, I hope that doesn't ever happen because that sounds terrible. All right. Question 2 is, what's something that you are looking forward to, just in life in general?
Yeah, I think like seeing some family for the holidays.
Yes.
Are you going back to Minnesota to see family?
Yeah, that's the plan. Unless like COVID stuff changes things or whatever.
Yeah. What is your favorite hobby besides running?
Being outside in general is definitely high on the list. Or I love reading or like word games, like crosswords or word puzzles. There's so many apps now you can get. So any of those word ones I think are pretty fun.
Yeah, I play Wordscapes. I love Wordscapes. I'm on my phone on my lunch break. I'm like, I'm at level 1000. Hold on a second,
And it's so productive too. It's got to be good for your brain.
I hope so. All right. Do you have an influence in your life? Someone that's inspired you?
For sure my family inspires me, and but no one like that I would have posters on my wall about if this was the 90s.
All right. Last question is, what is your favorite treat for a job well done?
I don't even have to do the job well, but my favorite thing is just nachos and beer. Or jelly beans are my favorite candy.
Yeah.
Do you have a certain place?
I just had these. Oh, sorry. Hold on. We're talking about candy right now, Michelle. Hold on a second.
This is important.
Okay, so I just had these sour jelly beans, and I can't remember what brand they are. I don't know if you're into sour stuff, but man, it took everything I had to not like just dump the whole bag in my mouth. Like,
Yeah,
these are
yeah.
amazing.
I'll have to see. I love fruity candies like jelly beans, Mike and Ike's, Dots, gummy bears, any of those fruity ones. And sour ones, I often don't buy because I find that the sour coating always makes it so I can't eat as many as I want to.
Yeah.
Like the quantity has to increase if it's a sour candy.
Yeah.
And so I stick with the non-sour usually.
Yeah, you want quantity. I get it.
I want quantity. Yeah.
I totally understand. But I will go for some sour Skittles if that's being offered. Ew, oh my gosh. Yesterday, my daughter got these Skittles in her Halloween bag, and they're called zombie Skittles. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a color. So I'm sitting there with the one of them tasted so nasty. It was supposed to taste like a zombie. I about died. I like popped it in my mouth and I'm chewing it and I'm like,
I hate that. Or the jelly beans that taste like dirt and socks or whatever. I'm like, don't ruin this delicious candy.
Well, wait. Jelly Belly has a game called Bean Boozled. And it's like you pick one. So my daughter and I will do that just for fun. And they're nasty.
They're so bad. How did they nail the taste of a gym locker? Like, how do you do that so well? That's so gross.
Yeah. Or like what was it? Like a fart. I think there was one that was supposed to be like a fart. And you're like, how do you like, I just don't, it's bad. A fun game though. Michelle, you should play Bean Boozled with us sometime.
So I can eat like fart candy and sign me up. I don't know about the game. So
some people like to challenge themselves. Some people like to challenge themselves on the trail. I like to challenge myself with nasty tasting food.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's great. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, Courtney?
I don't think so. No. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time. And it was very, very exciting for our entire community to get to talk to you. And you answered right away. We're just completely honored you came on the show. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for letting me join the Midwest community a little bit tonight.
Yeah, you inspire us.
We are welcome. You're welcome anytime in the Midwest. So we know you've got family here, so you'll be back, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Midwest states, that's getting up towards Minnesota. Like it's halfway down, so maybe that's a good one to start with. But
perfect. Thanks you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. I did want to give a shout out, and he's going to be so excited that I'm giving him a shout out on Courtney's show. But we have a new patron that left us just the sweetest review ever, which is Rich Pie. So thank you so much for being a new patron. He watched 3 shows in one day. He wrote me a nice letter, then wrote another nice letter. And we love you, Rich. Thank you. You really made our day. And our next show, we have another show tonight with Kevin Sass, who just finished Moab 240 that Courtney ran super fast and beat everybody by 10 hours that one year. And so we're excited to talk to him. And I wanted to thank Coach Loretta for helping organize all this for us. And then my son Royal over here that does all the technical stuff. So anything else for you, Crystal?
Just leave us reviews on iTunes. We love you guys. We appreciate you very much. It's an honor to be doing shows like this, especially when we have guests like Courtney. And also come check out our Facebook page and become a patron. You get some cool stuff that I'm not going to say because you have to come check it out.
So, well, thank you, Courtney. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.